Wintertime is here. Holidays are here, and look who I got under my tree. I'm just kidding. This is Jim Rauland with Quality Home Consultants, and he came back to my house again. If you remember from last time, he was here around fall. I think it was in October, and we did a seasonal checkup for the fall. So he's back this time around for a seasonal checkup for the winter. Make sure my home and is ready for winter and is good to go. We running smoothly and give you some tips of what to look for and what to do to maintain your home and preserve it in the best possible condition. So thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Well, the first thing we want to do as our winter checklist is to put a drain line or a hose, garden hose, on the bottom of your water heater. There's a spigot. And we're going to drain a little bit of water out of the water heater, looking for sediment, and clear that out so it doesn't get stuck into your faucets and restrict the flow. Okay. It's also a good indicator on the condition of the inside of your tank.
Okay.
With heavy sediment, there might be some corrosion on the inside of the tank that you might want to get looked at.
Gotcha. Right. So our water heater is actually located behind this door. And guess what? It's behind all this junk, and it's covered with a panel that's screwed to the wall. So I guess we're just gonna have to skip this part. Luckily, courtesy of Mr. Ruda Plumber, we had a checkup about a month ago on all things plumbing in our house. But for those who not gonna or don't do that, they're just gonna do it themselves if it's accessible, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's right.
So they're gonna
put a hose on the bottom spigot of the water heater. It looks just like an outdoor faucet. Screw that on. Put the hose to the exterior somewhere, or to a drain, a tub drain, or anything like that, and then turn that spigot on and look to see how much sediment's coming out of the hose. And once you stop seeing sediment, then just shut it off.
All right, what's the next thing on the list?
Cleaning the refrigerator coils.
That means I'm gonna have to go behind our refrigerator and see how dirty it is.
So you can do it from underneath here, and we'll take this cover off, and take your vacuum cleaner and vacuum underneath your refrigerator, and that gets a lot of the dust bunnies and dirt out from the coils, and it prolongs the life of your refrigerator. Okay.
Again, one of those things that I've never done before. I never removed this little panel. Let's see how dirty it is.
So.
Ooh, check this out, guys.
The dirt and dust bunnies and pet hair, and that's going to, we're going to go ahead and vacuum this out to prolong the life of your refrigerator.
Dyson to the rescue.
All right, so we'll start here so we don't put that back on. Next thing on our checklist for the homeowners to do is reverse the direction of the ceiling fan.
Okay, and what's the purpose of that?
All right, so when you reverse the direction, it actually blows the heat down, and it makes it more efficient because all the heat rises and you push it back down.
Okay. We actually do not have a single fan in our house, but if you do...
A little toggle switch on the side of the hub of the ceiling fan, and you just push it to the reverse.
Okay, so pretty easy. Once you do that, once you up there, you might as well
clean those too. Take your Dyson.
Take your Dyson.
Okay, the next thing is going to be for the homeowner's checklist is to run all the sinks and check for leaks. Oftentimes, people don't get far enough into their cabinets to see a small leak, and then when they do discover it, they pull something out and it's wet, and it's already too late. It's already damaged the bottom of the sink.
Okay. How long do you run the water for?
Run it for a few minutes.
For a few minutes to give it a chance to leak.
Yes. Right.
Or not.
Find a slow leak like that.
Okay.
Also, flush your toilets a couple of times, and just take a flashlight and look to see if there's any leaks. After being flushed.
Around it.
That's right. And then also a good tip would be to stick 1 foot on the side of the toilet and just give it a bump and make sure it's secure.
Oh, so the bowl is secured to the floor?
Yeah, so the toilet's secured to the floor, because if it's not, then you can get a leak that you can't detect. That will go
That goes
underneath.
underneath
Right.
continuously without you knowing it?
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's how you discover, or inspector discovers rotten wood underneath in the crawl space, probably?
Yeah, and then don't have any idea up on top. Next one is checking the caulking around your bathtubs and showers.
Okay.
Oftentimes, it wears out and or flakes out, and you will need to check for any voids. Because if there's some voids in the caulking or the grout, then you can possibly get a leak, which can cause water damage.
Because remember, water is your biggest enemy when it comes to home ownership and preserving your home, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
The next thing for our homeowners winter checklist is to get your Dyson.
Or any other vacuum. This is not a sponsored.
and remove these vents, and go ahead, and you can see the dirt and and stuff inside your vents. That helps you with allergies and things like that. So our next winter checklist for homeowners is to go ahead and check the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Make sure that those are working, and remember to change the batteries on your car, all those detectors, every time the time changes. Even if the batteries are still good, you change them anyway. That way you know that they're going to be good for the season.
So how do we check the smoke detectors? Press the button? Or?
Yeah, there's a test button on the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. And you just push it until it beeps, and then that'll show you that it's working properly.
Okay, so close your ears when you do that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
warn-
And let everybody know you're doing it.
Right,
Yeah.
so nobody freaks out. Okay, that's pretty easy.
And then the last thing on a winter checklist for a homeowner's maintenance is to go ahead and change that furnace filter.
And ours happens to be in the crawl space.
In this case, the filter is in the air handler. Some people will have return registers in the home, and they just open a vent and replace the filters at those registers.
So you unscrew it.
You take the cover off, and here it is.
There's the little filter.
There it is. This one needs to be changed.
Needs to be changed. Okay. And that's about it, right? For the winter checklist.
That's our winter.
To make sure your house runs smoothly and you preserve it in the best possible condition.